Hi, welcome to Blade and Brush, everyone. I'm Mike, your wet shaver, back with another video. Yeah, it is Tuesday. It's after work. I went ahead and decided to take another shower after work because I was just kind of feeling all grody and hadn't shaved since Sunday, actually, or no, yesterday morning. I'm sorry, my brain is getting a little bit messed up right now. Haven't been feeling well last few weeks. Last week I lost my voice briefly. I think I had strained it rather much from overuse and also stuff that was in the air. And yeah, it's just been kind of one of those weeks. But anyway, figured I'd do another shave video and kind of revisit the Caveem safety razor, which is a very lightweight, surprisingly efficient aluminum safety razor. And also, since I felt like sandalwood today, La Pierre Lucien Savon du Barbier. Yeah, it's like a oud and santal or oud and sandalwood. So yeah, that's today's shave. So let's go ahead and get started. Yeah, I'm using the Companion pre-shave oil. Let me tell you, the scent has not lost its potency, and I'm glad of that. Sometimes you'll get soaps that do. But not this, mainly because I think it's in a metal tin, and I keep it covered when not in use, so that helps preserve its aroma. So, but yeah, this is a French milled soap. And it's hard milled, so it will last you a good while. So yeah, the weather's really nice out. I've got the dog outside so that you can get some fresh air. Plus I got the oven top going. I was making up some Filipino-style spaghetti. And if you're not familiar with Filipino-style spaghetti, it is very simple. You take some ground meat, usually beef, pork, or some combination of the two, which is what I used. Cut up some hot dogs, some onions of your choice. I used up diced shallots, and then some mushrooms, and you cook that all up in a skillet. And then while that's cooking, you go ahead and get your noodles ready. You can just use regular spaghetti noodles. And then the sauce was from UFC brand. And if you know anything about Filipino spaghetti sauces or ketchups, they use banana ketchup because years ago there was a tomato shortage in the Philippines, so they couldn't make ketchup or much else that required it as a main ingredient. So they turned to bananas, and it just became so popular it kind of stuck and became a cultural thing. But they do use tomatoes in the sauce, but it's just not the dominant ingredient. So you add that to the meat mixture, and then pour that over your noodles once they're cooked. And then as a garnish, you can add some shredded cheese on it, usually shredded cheddar, if that's your preference. But it's typically served at fiestas, but you'll also find it at Jollibee, but also McDonald's, Burger King, Popeye's Chicken, KFC, pretty much anywhere in the Philippines that has fast food or whatever, they'll have that spaghetti. It's very popular. That and burger steaks, which is kind of like Salisbury steak, except it doesn't have any breadcrumbs. But yeah, I had a craving for it, so I decided to go ahead and cook it up today. And I had a rather fun weekend, which kind of contributed, I think, to some of my back issues flaring up this week as well. But I went and saw this film at the Cedar Lee Movie Theater, which is a local art house theater over in Cleveland Heights, which is a suburb on the east side of Cleveland. But long story short, I went and saw this film by Boots Riley, who's a former rapper turned filmmaker. And it's called I Love Boosters. Now, he does have a very particular set of politics that might rub people the wrong way, but one of the things I like about Boots Riley's work is that he doesn't, well, his politics are not at all subtle, but they don't insult you. You know, he doesn't ram it down your throat and tell you that you have to accept it. He uses entertainment and comedy especially to kind of get you thinking and about the subject material and about some of the things that we do as a society. So, like I said, the politics may or may not be your cup of tea, because Boots Riley does identify as a communist. I don't. But I don't let my politics interfere with my movie-going habits, because even if it's something I don't agree with, I want to at least try and get a sense of what the other side is saying, so that, at least I can hone my own counter-argument. Or at least kind of, have my ideas challenged and, learn and grow, because have I gotten stuff right? Have I misinterpreted stuff? Does the other side have a point to make that's legitimate? And I don't know that if I just keep to my own bubble. That holds true whether the movie is left-wing or right-wing or supposes to be someplace in the middle. What I don't like is when movies and TV shows try to force the politics down your throat in a way that's like insulting to the intelligence. It assumes that you, the audience, are too stupid to understand things like subtext. That's what most offends me, there's like a lot of tokenism in a lot of big Hollywood productions now that takes the place of actual representation. And then whiny incels on the internet make their living bitching about it. And here I am, a guy who just grew up watching films and television from the Hollywood Renaissance, when they knew how to get political without insulting your intelligence, And again, even if I didn't actually agree with what a movie or TV show is trying to say, I never used to feel like I was being talked down to like I do now. But with Boots Riley, he's kind of old school like that. He doesn't talk down to you. So I highly recommend you catch it in theaters while you still can. It did not get a very big release. In fact, even at the Cedar Lee, it was on one of the side theaters. So the screen really wasn't much bigger. It actually might have been a little bit smaller than the living room wall here at my aunt's place. Still bigger than what you would see on a television, unless it's like super huge, but it was, the point is, it wasn't as big a screen as I feel it deserved, because this guy really knows his craft. He's excited about filmmaking. There's no CGI in it. There is plenty of stop motion in there. If you are like I was as a kid, and you grew up in love with stop motion, Boots Riley does use it in his films. So I will watch pretty much anything that has stop motion in it, good or bad, whether I agree with it or not. And there's no CGI anywhere. You know, maybe some used to clean up some scenes, but or you know, kind of blend together some of the practical effects. But it's all practical effects. So I mean, that is something that is increasingly rare in Hollywood, especially something that is effects heavy. And the whole movie, it's like this very outrageous, absurdist comedy, you know, very surrealistic. You know, that's some of the stuff that I like. So think if Eraserhead was in color and funny instead of scary, and had an entirely different plot. And you've got films like Sorry to Bother You and I Love Boosters. So anyway, yeah, that's a kind of a rambling description that probably is not very accurate, but what the heck. I'm 52 now. I had my birthday on the 18th last month. I can ramble incoherently about a movie I love if I want to. But the point is, I really do recommend that you see it on a bigger screen than what you would get at home, because there's so much information thrown at you visually that you really do need a big screen to be able to pick up on it. Because this guy filmed his movie in anamorphic widescreen, which, if you're a film nerd like I am, means that when they shot it, they used lens that kind of squished the image into like this narrower, kind of squarish shape. But when you go to edit it and play back in a projector, then it stretches it out into the aspect ratio that you want it to be. And therefore you don't lose any information. Whereas the vast majority of movies that are shot today are still shot in 4:3 aspect ratio, or just a regular 16:9 aspect ratio, depending on the camera and lens. But they usually end up cropping off the top and bottom. Which might work if you're trying to hide some things like boom mics and other stuff, but you're not getting as much information as you could be. And there's just an explosion of colors in this movie as well. You're not getting that weird amber blue tint or bluish gray tint that's all the fashion now in Hollywood. It's like you're getting a full color experience. So if you want to go see something that's silly and irreverent, it makes you think without talking down to you like you're 5 years old, then I would highly recommend going to see I Love Boosters while it's in the theaters. You'll have it playing more. Now, there are a couple of other movies that are pretty much dominating One of them is Obsession. Another, I think, is called Backrooms. But these are more or less original films that, whether you like them or not, people are still going to see them over stuff like The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is the latest drivel from Disney Star Wars. Or as I like to call it, Disney not Star Wars, because it's not actually Star Wars. It just has a Star Wars name and logo slapped onto it, but it's not actually Star Wars. Just like the current iteration of what I call fake Trek isn't actually Star Trek. It just has a Star Trek name and logo slapped onto it, but that's really the only connection it has. Except for the most superficial aspects. One of the problems I have with Hollywood is that when they stick with these big name franchises, they hollow them out and try to corporatize them to have mass appeal, which is understandable if you're trying to expand beyond the niche audience that made it possible to make that reboot in the first place. But at the same time, you're kind of driving that audience away because what you're producing isn't anything like what people wanted or expected. And they sure as hell didn't ask for it. And so as a result, you lose not only the original audience, you're not even getting the audience that you were catering to because they didn't care about the original franchise to begin with. And the numbers are showing that. So, and plus I think people are just kind of like burned out with all these reboots and sequels there too, and reimaginings and comic book movies in general. I think people are just burned out on it. I think we're overdue for another Hollywood renaissance, although I fear we may not get one in my lifetime anyway. Because the corporate structure that exists now is a lot stronger in many ways than it was back in the 1960s when the first Hollywood renaissance came about. And you could still go around the studio system to get your passion project made and have it be a surprise hit. And then the studios pick it up and start making stuff like that because they realize, oh, hey, this is better for our bottom line. But now these days, the studio suits and the corporations that own them are like, yeah, we don't want anything that will make us lose influence. So we're just going to keep producing drivel based on dead properties that nobody wants. And if they want something else, well, tough tacos. At least that's their thinking, if you can call it that. But the Barbie movie, for all its flaws, and Oppenheimer a couple years ago did surprisingly well on relatively lower budgets, and they were popular. They made money. Last year, you had Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler. It was a very good horror film with vampires. And I think the reason it resonated with so many people and why I think the movie was robbed at the Oscars this year was that it told a good, entertaining story that you could sit through and kind of not even pay attention to the politics in it. Because all films have politics in them to one degree or another, of one stripe or another. And some of them, in fact, actually most of them today, the politics are in your face. And never hesitate to remind you. And then others like Sorry to Bother You, or I Love Boosters, or Oppenheimer, or even the Barbie movie, or Sinners. Even if their messaging isn't all that subtle, you can still kind of forget about it and just lose yourself in the story. You know, which is what a good movie is supposed to do. It's supposed to let you just get into the story. So yeah, that's pretty much my rambling about movies. So yesterday, my fiance and I celebrated our 2-year anniversary of being together. We actually met online. You know, obviously, because she's in the Philippines and I'm here in the United States. But there is a story behind that. I'll probably go into that in my next video. Because this one actually is running a bit long. I don't want to bore you too much. Rambling on about stuff. But also, you know, that it really deserves a topic unto itself that has me getting some ideas. Which unfortunately I do not have time to go into in this video. But yeah, we met in May of 2024, and then we hit it off. And 2 years ago yesterday, we made it official that we were going to be a couple. And then in November of that year, I went over and proposed to her. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to go back soon. I'm saving up money for it. And if all the bullshit in the Middle East can get resolved before we start having a major fuel crisis worldwide, you know, I'll be able to go over there sooner rather than later. But damn, I wish that would wrap up. I mean, like I said, I know people don't like talking politics, but politics unfortunately affects us all in ways big or small. And I've got a feeling people are about to start feeling the effects of politics, whether they want to talk about it or not. I mean, just look at how safety razor blades have changed. You know, Russia used to have a factory. I mean, it still does have a factory in St. Petersburg. In which for many years Gillette had a majority share in. And they used to make quite a lot of the razor blade brands that you and I like to shave with. But once the proxy war in Ukraine started, Gillette withdrew its stakes in that factory because of sanctions. Moved its production over to India, where the quality control isn't nearly as good as it was in the St. Petersburg factory. Which is why the blade quality may not be quite as good anymore for your favorite brand, because the production had to be moved. It's also why a lot of soap companies change their bases from tallow to vegetable, especially over in Europe, because of laws that got passed having to do with the risk of these prions, which are like these rogue proteins that form with mad cow disease. And they can't be killed because they're not alive. And if they get into your brain, they can turn your brain to mush. So Europe, unfortunately, had this period where mad cow was a real problem. And so eventually anything that might involve exposure to nerve tissue or brain tissue from using tallow, they just decided, you know what, no, we're just going to shut this down and require that you replace it with some alternative. So, yeah, a lot of soap manufacturers decided, okay, we're going to have to either go to a vegetable base or find something else. So, yeah, but that's how politics affects your shave products. It affects our shared hobby. So, those are, things that we don't like to think about, but, it does happen. So, anyway, enough of my rambling. It's already going on almost 27 minutes or not. No, 27 minutes now into this video. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you off here. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube things. Hit that bell notification so that you never miss a video. Until next time, this is Mike for Blade and Brush, signing off.